The first summit of K2 1954. Doing what others can't is a terrific feeling, and summiting the second highest peak in the world can come in this criteria. Yes, I'm talking about the K2 or Mount Godwin-Austen in the Karakoram mountain range. It is regarded as the most technical and high-altitude mountain to summit, as it's not even successfully summited by any of the mountaineers who tried to summit K2 before 1954. In today's video, we are going to relive the journey of the first ever successful summit of the most technically acclaimed high-altitude and the second highest mountain in the world, K2. Let's start with a quick introduction of K2. As I told you guys before, K2 is the second highest mountain in the world at 8,611 meters, which is actually 28,251 feet, and it is only 200 meters shorter than Mount Everest. It is also known as Mount Godwin-Austen or Shogori, although K2 is part of the Karakoram range, which is located partly in China and partly in Pakistan, but India also claims it due to the Kashmir conflict. Backstories of previous summits at K2. But if we talk about the first serious attempt to climb the mountain was made in 1902 by a party including Aleister Crowley, later to become notorious as the wickedest man in the world. The expedition examined ascent routes both north and south of the mountain and made best progress up the northeast ridge before they were forced to abandon their efforts. Since that time, K2 has developed a reputation of being a more difficult mountain to climb than Mount Everest. Every route to the summit is tough. Before the successful Italian ascent, the expedition that had previously climbed highest on K2 had been the 1939 American Karakoram expedition, which reached 27,450 feet. The previous journeys. In 1890, Roberto Lurco entered the Baltoro Muztagh region of Karakoram. He reached the foot of K2 and may even have climbed a short way up its southeast spur, but he did not leave an account of its journey. In 1909, the Duke of Abruzzi expedition again explored various routes before reaching about 20,510 feet on the southeast ridge before deciding the mountain was unclimbable. In 1929, Aimone de Savoia Aosta, the nephew of the Duke of Abruzzi, led an expedition to explore the upper Baltoro Glacier near to K2. The geologist on the party was Ardito Desio, and he became to feel that there was an Italian claim for attempts on the mountain. In 1952, Desio traveled to Pakistan as a preliminary for leading a full expedition in 1953, only to discover that the Americans had already booked the single climbing permit for that year. He returned in 1953 with Riccardo Cassin to reconnoiter the lower slopes of K2. It was only after his return to Italy that Desio heard he had been granted the permit for the 1954 summit attempt. Preparation for Expedition Act 1. As the leader of the expedition, Desio planned methodically and took great care to assemble the best possible team. No fewer than 7 of those chosen were professional guides. When they arrived in Karakoram in spring 1954, almost 700 porters were needed to take their gear to the foot of the mountain. Unlike Hunt, who led from the front, the 57-year-old Desio spent most of his time at base camp, issuing orders and frequently reminding his troops that they were climbing for the honor of the Italian mountaineering. They initially made good progress, but by late June, everything had started to slow down. One of the strongest climbers, Mario Puccios, died of suspected pneumonia as K2 was battered by storms. Act 2. Second attempt. The climbers again spread out across the various camps and Compagnoni and Ray scaled the house's chimney, but then after another storm confined everyone to their tents. On 5th of July, Compagnoni, who Desio had nominated to lead the high-level climbing, Abram and Galotti established Camp 5, and then 2 days later reached Camp 6 with fixed ropes now running all the way up from Camp 1. They used the ropes from the 1953 expedition to reach Camp 7. Although on descending, the ropes slipped from their anchor points, causing Florianini to fall 200 meters but suffering no very serious injuries. On 18th of July, Compagnoni and Ray, followed by Bonatti and Lacedelli, set ropes as high as the American Camp 8 at the base of the summit plateau. Camp 6 had been at the site of the American Camp 7 was moved to higher ground to avoid what they considered was a dangerous location. Successive severe storms made progress much slower than expected, but then the weather improved. On 28th of July, Camp 8 was established at 25,023 feet for a summit attempt by Compagnoni and Lacedelli. Next day, they climbed higher, but was unable to find a good location for their highest camp, Camp 9. They left their rucksacks and returned to Camp 8, now realizing they would need supplemental oxygen for the summit. The place where they have been trying to set Camp 9 was beside a wall of ice at 26,000 feet, beside what later became known as the bottleneck. Also on 29th of July, 4 climbers at Camp 7 went up with 2 oxygen sets each, weighing 40 pounds, a tent and extra food towards Camp 8, but Abram and Ray had to turn back and only Bonatti and Galoti got there. They needed to abandon the oxygen sets at about 24,300 feet. By evening, Mahdi and Isakan reached Camp 7. Preparing for the summit. For 30th of July, the 4 men at Camp 8 agreed that while Compagnoni and Lacedelli would climb to try to establish Camp 9, Bonatti and Galoti would descend to fetch the oxygen just above Camp 7 and then carry the heavy oxygen equipment all the way up to Camp 9 via Camp 8. The fetching of the oxygen would be a far greater challenge than the establishment of the high camp, as it would involve a descent of 600 feet followed by an ascent of 1,600 feet. They would tell climbers at Camp 7 to bring up more supplies to 8. Meanwhile, Compagnoni and Lacedelli would establish Camp 9 at a lower level of 25,900 feet to reduce the height the oxygen needed to be carried. In the event, they established their high camp not at the lower level where there was deep powdery snow, but at 26,740 feet across a difficult traverse over dangerous slab rocks, which took almost an hour to achieve. They had very little food, and although they had oxygen masks with them, but not the actual gas cylinders. Reaching the summit. At about 6:30 to 6:45 on 31st of July, Compagnoni and Lacedelli left their tent and saw someone descending and were shocked to think they must have spent the night in the open. They recovered the gas cylinders and from there set off for the summit at about 8:30. To save weight, they abandoned their rucksacks and for nourishment only took sweets. The route through the bottleneck was blocked with snow and they could not climb the cliffs as Wisner has done in 1939. Eventually, they found a line close to Wisner's up through mixed ice and rock. The people below at Camp 8 were briefly able to see them ascending the final slope just before Compagnoni and Lacedelli reached the summit arm in arm at about 1800, Saturday, 31st of July. They took a few photos and a brief movie film as the sun was setting. Lacedelli wanted to go down as soon as possible, but Compagnoni said he wanted to spend the night on the summit. Only after being threatened with Lacedelli's ice axe did he turn to descend. Well, it was quite a funny instance. It was a complete wonder that the human race has reached such high altitude points. Yes, people had already summited the Everest, but K2 in itself was a great feat. Purely, it was a combined effort made by these people, which is undoubtedly one of the greatest achievements of mankind. But comparing this with the first summit of Mount Everest is something which is not necessary, as both sides did their jobs effectively and reached great heights. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. Hit the bell icon to get the notification each and every time when we upload a new video. See you in the next one. Until then, peace out.